which is not incredibly surprising. But this one I found at a bookstore not that long ago, and I had to buy it. So it's Madeline by Ludwig Beemans. I can't say his last name. It's Ludwig. So I'm going to read this to you. This is the first book about Madeline. I believe there were others. I don't think I ever read any of the others, but this one's the first one. Let me get to the first page here. In an old house in Paris that was covered with vines, lived 12 little girls in two straight lines. In two straight lines, they broke their bread. And brushed their teeth and went to bed. They smiled at the good and frowned at the bad. And sometimes they were very, very sad. They left the home at 9:30 in two straight lines. In rain or shine. The smallest one was Madeline. She was not afraid of mice. She loved winter, snow, and ice. To the tiger at the zoo, Madeline just said, "Boo, boo." And nobody knew so well how to frighten Miss Clarivelle. In the middle of one night, Miss Clarivelle turned on her light and said, "Something is not right." Little Madeline sat in bed, cried and cried. Her eyes were red. And soon after, Dr. Kahn came and rushed out to the phone. And he dialed 108 "Nurse," he said, "it's an appendix." Everyone had to cry. Not a single eye was dry. Madeline was in his arm, and a blanket safe and warm. In a car with a red light, they drove out into the night. Madeline woke up 2 hours later in a room with flowers. Madeline soon ate and drank. On her bed there was a crank, and a crack in the ceiling had the habit of sometimes looking like a rabbit. If I can turn this page. scar. Goodbye, they said. Come again. And the little girls left in the rain. Brushed, they went home and broke their bread, brushed their teeth, and went to bed. In the middle of the night, Miss Clarabelle turned on the light and said, "Something is not right." And, afraid of a disaster, Miss Clarabelle ran fast and faster. And she said, "Please, children, do tell me what is troubling you." And all the little girls cried, "Boo-hoo, we want to have our appendix out too." "Good night, little girls. Thank the Lord you are well. And now, go to sleep," said Miss Clarabelle. Then she turned out the light and closed the door. And that is all there is. There isn't any more. I loved that book. That was one of my absolute favorites. Now, I used to read a lot as a kid in general, so I liked most books, but I did especially love that one. I read that book a lot. Alright, now like I said, this one is just one book, but it's a very big book filled with lots of different stories. Now we won't read every single story, but there's a lot of them in here. I'll just take a few out of it. Disclaimer, because you know Disney, I do not own this book. I do not own the rights to this book. It all belongs to Disney. But it is a good book. Now let's see what we got. Let's start with page 51. Once upon a winter time. I loved this one when I was a kid. Once upon a winter time, a long time ago, sleigh bells were tinkling and runners were twinkling over the sparkling snow. It seemed a perfect day to take a ride in the sleigh, so Joe put a fur robe in the gutter and he hitched up his spanking bays, and Jenny put her warm little jacket and her mittens, each one with a flower upon it, and a scarf for her chin and a bonnet, and all, and her stout little boots. Then away they sped down the country roads between towering banks of snow. What a fine, crisp, sparkling day it was. On the boughs above them the birds sang, the gutter's sleigh bells gaily rang, and the sounds of them brought the bunnies to the doorway of their oak tree home. What fun, thought the bunnies. Let us go for a sleigh ride too. So they jumped and they rode away, seated on the runners of the speeding sleigh. Soon the road curved down close beside the pond, stretching smooth as glass to the woods beyond. Joe drove up with the horses so smart and nice, and they sat looking at the sparkling ice. Jenny and Joe agreed that it was just the sort of ice that was perfect for skating on, so they hopped into the trice of their skates were fastened, and they were on the ice. Joe was a star, and he loved to show Jenny the way that real skaters go, swooping and sliding and gracefully gliding over the ice. On his swift, twinkling skates, he did fine figure eights or nines. to smile, and it grew to a chuckle after a while. That made Ginny furious. She got to her feet, and her face was as red as freshly scrubbed beet. She spun on her heel and skated ahead so fast that she never saw a sign that said danger, thin ice. Crunch, crack went the ice, and before Joe's eyes it broke into pieces, and Ginny's cries came back to him on the wintry air. Joe couldn't reach Ginny standing there because her ice chunk was floating down faster and faster towards the town. And there were falls in the river ahead, steep, rocky rapids. The birds and the bunnies were all worried too. They fluttered and chattered and wondered what to do. The horses stood ready to help if they could, and now Joe had a plan that was really good. He jumped to the sleigh. At his whistle, the team raced off through the snowdrifts. Behind them, Joe made a loop in his reins. Like a cowboy's rope at the rodeo, he coiled the lasso. He let it fly, but just as it left his hand, oh my, head over heels, over toes went Joe. Plunkety-thud in a bank of snow, and the rope missed Ginny. Now what to do? Joe couldn't help her. He was through until he could dig himself out. But the birds came swooping down through the air and picked up the rope end lying there, while the bunnies tied one end to Joe, who was still heels up in the bank of snow. The birds flew to Ginny on the ice. The rope dropped around her, neat and nice. Then horses and bunnies and snowbirds all pulled Ginny back away from the falls, up the stream and into the pond, smooth as glass, that still stretched away to the woods beyond. Back came Ginny, and there was Joe, and they never knew how she happened to be off the ice and back under the tree. The birds and the bunnies never told. The horses just stamped their feet with the cold, and rattled their bells and shook the sleigh as if they wanted to be on their way. So in hopped Ginny, and after her Joe, and off they rode towards the town below. The birds sang sweetly, the horses neighed, and the bunnies hopped on aboard again, for they were not afraid. And away they went, across the frosted snow, once upon a winter time, long, long ago. I always thought that was a cute little story. Pretty good. Let's see. herself through the Wonderland woods, seeing most unusual sights. She began to hear singing off through the trees. It sounds like a birthday party, she thought, so she hurried along to see. Through the Mad Hatter's cake she stepped. She saw the colored lanterns hanging from the trees and the cakes upon the table, and she heard the jolly singing, "A very merry birthday to you, to a very merry birthday to you." Then the Mad Hatter saw her. "No room," he cried. "What are you doing here?" "I heard you singing through the woods," said Alice, "and it sounded so delightful." "It did," cried the Mad Hatter. "What a charming child. Sit down, sit down." "Whose birthday is it?" Alice asked. "No one's. It's an unbirthday party," they said and explained. "Why, then, it's my unbirthday too," said Alice. "A very merry unbirthday to you," chorused the Mad Hatter. "And the March Hare." "My," said Alice. "I wish Diana were here to see this." "And who is Diana?" the March Hare asked. "Diana is my cat," Alice said. "Cat, cat, cat," cried a horrified voice, and the Dormouse at the sound of that dreaded word popped out of his teapot up into the air. "Would you like some more tea?" the Mad Hatter asked Alice. "How can I have more?" asked Alice, "when I haven't had any yet." "Move down," cried the March Hare just then. "Clean cups." "Move down," scolded the Hatter, rudely pushing Alice out of her chair. "This is the silliest party I've ever seen," said Alice. "I'm going home." She stalked out the gate and off through the woods. No one seemed to notice that she had left. There they are, singing to this very day, drinking cups of unbirthday tea. If you should wander through Wonderland, perhaps you will hear voices singing loud and free. "A very merry unbirthday to you, to you. A very merry unbirthday to me." It's kind of cool. It's a little bit of maybe some explanation as to why they were sitting in the woods having a birthday party. I mean, hey, I can understand. I'll take birthday cake any day. Why not have a party every day, if you can manage it? But like I said, that's going to be the last story for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like, I can do a lot more of these. I kept pretty much all of my books from when I was a kid, so I've got plenty more of those. So I might do a couple more of these, we'll see. I am thinking about doing a couple, like showing you my book collection. The problem I have with that at this point is that I have so many books. It's deciding what books to show you, I guess. So I'm going back and forth on what videos as far as that to go with, and I might branch out and do some others. I'm doing some research and see if there's some video specifics that I like to watch. Excuse my messy room. I have not had